Unmuted.
You're doing this to
All
check.
right, it's 6:30. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Mitch, call the roll, please.
Elfon,
Here.
Dr. Melhouse,
Here.
Dr. Nystrom, Stephen,
Here.
Richard.
Here. All right, recognition of visitors. I think you said there's nothing here, Julie.
Nope,
Consideration of the agenda, anything to add or change?
no changes.
Any questions on the agenda? Otherwise,
Move to approve the agenda.
have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Carries. Hearing a delegation. I don't think we- Anybody here? All right, down to routine business. Thing from the board, any questions on any bills or anything in routine business?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda items 1 through 4 on routine business.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're down into reports and presentations. Number 1, 22-23 professional development plan.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and present. Dr. James is on vacation, but she has provided the professional development schedule that has been put in draft form for all of you to see what we have planned. So we have Monday, August 8th, if you recall, in last year when we developed our calendar, we developed an opportunity for staff to have some flexible time to be paid for a day. And so one of the ideas was a teacher win mini conference for certified staff to take place on August 8th. You can go down. August 17th is the beginning of all staff starting, and we will have an all district welcome at the Boone County Fairgrounds. We have a surprise guest joining us in the morning, and we have a variety of regular routine business that we'll take care of as well. But we do have a surprise guest that we're excited about bringing on board in the morning. And then in the afternoon, staff will be able to go back to their individual buildings and have their welcome back meetings. Thursday, we have our emergency and ALIS crisis training. Scott Kelly is a certified ALIS trainer. Ethan will also join in that endeavor as well as our school SRO. And we'll have building level ALIS follow-up PD. We've met with the chief of police in Boone as an admin team to discuss how we'd like to proceed with continuing to further develop our plans as a district and at the building levels throughout the school year. But we have a day dedicated to that on Thursday. Then Friday, we have a lot of required special ed trainings that will be starting on that day with the new Achieve training. And Pam, I'm sure we'll talk about that when we get a little bit closer to that. But so there will be a lot of training that involves all staff in addition to special ed staff with regard to that. We're fortunate because Pam did this in her previous district already. So she's got all of those bugs worked out so that when we go through it, it'll be smooth transition. Monday on the 22nd, we have individual building professional development plans. You can see what each building level has scheduled and then all of the dates with what we have. So all of our day-long dates, we have half a day district and then half a day at the building level. And we have those identified throughout the school year as to what that will look like for our certified staff as you go throughout the year. Hopefully you've had time to look through it in more detail, but a strong emphasis on our professional learning communities and our model of instruction through our high reliability schools. Those are our two main goal areas that we're working on district-wide. So that's what all of our professional development is centered around as well. So any questions about what you saw in your Simply packet?
Well, my only question would be, do you have any? You want the board to attend or
It would be lovely if you could, if you have an opportunity to come on the 17th in the morning, that would be great for you to be able to experience that. I know typically we have our board president speak,
yeah.
but,
No, that's no problem.
you know, for you to simply attend, you won't be sitting at the same table or communicating. So if you have an opportunity to break away from your other scheduled events, it would be fantastic for you to be able to experience that August 17th morning with the entire staff. I believe in the assembly packet, you also had a draft of our new teacher schedule, where our plans are to follow something very similar to what we did last year, as we had a lot of positive feedback about it. And so we will continue to revise a little bit, but in general, those are the topics that we'll be covering with them as we did last year. So,
Other questions?
okay,
Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to accept the professional development plans for this school year.
second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Number 2 is building handbooks.
So you have your, the building handbooks were in your supporting links. I know you all have looked through those because I know you have some, just some noted typographical things that you're going to share with each of our principals that we can correct before they go forward to the buildings. But if you have any questions about anything content-wise, it would be great for us to have those conversations now.
I guess I got 2 questions.
Sure.
Number one, is each individual building talks about different ways of notification for weather delays and that type of thing. One even mentions WOI television, a couple mention KCCI and WHO, but don't mention WOI. One says KWBG and local news stations. I just think that message, that needs to be the same paragraph in all of them, so that you got a kid in one building and another building, they're not confused. So
In practice, it does go to the same because I'm the one that sends out the weather notices. So it goes out the same for everyone in the district. It's not each building principal doing that, but I would agree that we can state it in a the same paragraph in each of the handbooks. So I can give that information to the principals to put that in, because
I don't care which one you
Yeah.
choose. I just would like to see it consistent.
send it to all of the news stations, KWVG, as well as text messages and phone calls. So, I mean, I'll put that in a paragraph and give that to the principals.
And the
Place in that paragraph.
other thing I'd like to see consistent is in all of them, when they talk about bus, make sure that it says students are expected to wear their seatbelts at all times. That's not on
Okay,
a couple of them, and that would be easy thing to add. I think I saw it on one and not on a couple of them, but
okay,
again, those are just 2 things I'd like to see consistency with.
appreciate. Yep.
I have a couple of questions. I have to go through each one of them. On BEEP, I believe I'm in the BEEP parent handbook. It says under firebomb threat and tornado, earthquake and flood procedures in both of them, it says channel 13 and channel 8 will broadcast the children's location. Is that something that,
What exactly, that's copied directly from what DHS tells us that we have to put
okay.
in our handbook.
I just didn't know
DHS
if it could
policy.
be an email or a text rather than having it been on the radio or television saying these children can be found at wherever. That seemed
Yeah,
dangerous.
that's exactly, we tried to stray from that, and DHS wants us to write exactly that
Okay.
in there. I can double check with Nate and our supervisor and see if we can change that to.
I saw the same thing and it doesn't make sense to me. Because you got someone out there that wants to cause trouble, broadcasting it to them where the students are. doesn't make
All of our
sense.
families have cell phones, and so that's why we try to give it like some location. I think is what DHS has told me, and we don't have cell phone, they only communicate via Facebook Messenger, so.
Or maybe we put a location that they can go and find where the kids are at.
that could be-
Just because I don't necessarily want everyone to know where our kids are at. Just, just say, go to the public library. And then we have someone there. Well, let's say, who's your child? Okay, they're at this building or that building, just to try to.
I'll check with DHS and see what.
Okay.
we can put instead.
Okay,
Well, I think we used to put out the rendezvous sites so that parents weren't coming to the buildings. And it was like, you'll be able to meet your child at the armory or wherever. That's been a while, but
again, I'm the business teacher and we really got going on some of these. So I did a lot of proofreading. There's one thing in the Page Lincoln handbook. It still says it's your breakfast and lunch will be free to all students.
We have not heard, I've not heard my updates on that, so you notice at the beginning of that section, it says these will be modified and changed. I don't know what the current pricing is, I have not heard from her, and I don't know the time either. So when
Okay.
she gets back from site, I'll be able to update those, and that's why I put that disclaimer in that section of.
Got
it's
it.
Also by the transportation, it says something like, these will be.
Okay.
major further.
There's a couple other things. Middle school, it said one of the things that was changed was the lunch menu, but it was not. So it's still showing 21, 22. So just a couple of things like that. And as I said, I proofread some, so I will send that to everybody. I don't think I had any other major questions on anything else.
I sent an email to Scott on that.
Okay,
One copy Julie on, and he emailed back that he corrected it. So
okay. I'll send those to each of you guys.
Thank you. Any other questions?
So do you all feel comfortable making a motion for approval pending the changes outlined?
Pending corrections, yes.
I'll second that motion.
Yes.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor, aye.
I,
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 3, special education update.
Okay, so I am pleased to announce that we have our Director of Student Services who is going to present our special education snapshot. She's been on staff, a whole 10 days? Yeah, 6 days of working, 10 if you count the weekends. So welcome, Pam.
I thought it was a good idea to come up and present, but now I'm a little bit regretful, but.
It's all good. It's all good.
First time I'm here. I am very excited to be here, and I have had just an immensely positive welcome from teachers, staff, community members. You guys have a lot of good things going on here, and I'm so thrilled to be here. This first slide, this next slide, sorry. Can you be my Vanna
Yes.
White?
Yeah.
Yes.
you
Thank
just
you. Okay,
nod or
okay.
point.
I am a person who likes to jump in and just really talk about what the things are that we need to change, because I'm an agent of change, and that's what I do. So I've had to remind myself, and others have had to remind me, that we need to stop and celebrate the strengths and the celebrations of the district. These are things that I've gathered just from the short time I've been here. I sent out a survey to all people in the district, all of the personnel in the district, and I've gotten about 50 back so far. Every one of them have talked about the relationships. They've talked about that sense of community, that sense of belonging. They've talked about facilities, community pride. Those things are sometimes common, but the thing that is uncommon, I will tell you, in districts is this strong positive culture. And so I think that is a testament, and about a third of the surveys that I've received back up to this point, very unscientific, but it's a good, again, dipstick indicator, is that the administrators and people in this room, you all being a big part of that, has set that tone for the culture of the district. And that's something to very much be proud of. Next slide. talk about just a few things that I've noticed. This was the biggest thing that I noticed while I started doing research about interviewing for this position. Our average in Iowa is 13%, 13.2% of students across the districts in Iowa have IEPs. In Boone, that number is 17.9%. That doesn't necessarily is not a thing, but it's something to look into and make some other connections with. Next slide, please. What I did is I just kind of took out, just to give you an idea of some schools around us that are larger, smaller, but they're near us, and to look at the percentage of students that they have in special education. So you can see kind of where we fall out with that. And I can share this presentation later if the font is too little, but you can see where Boone falls out with that. The next slide is the percentage of students with IEPs, and this is with our conference area schools. So again, you can see that we are considerably higher than the others in our conference. Next slide. School, because that sometimes there are schools that have larger numbers than others, and they all are above the state norm, the state average, but there are some that have larger numbers. I don't want to throw administrators under the bus, and we haven't had any time to talk about this. This is just data. Again, it's not good, it's not bad. It's something that I want to ask additional questions about and determine what can we do? Why is this? Why are we different than other schools around the state? Next. Was proficiency. And obviously that should be the area that we are always most concerned with, and that's focus. The way you read this graph, and I got this from our special education profile, and it's fiscal year 2020. It has math, district math, state math, district reading, and state reading. And this is compared to our standardized assessments. The first would be 4th grade, 8th grade, and 9th through 11th. And you can see when you compare our district scores with the state, in 4th grade, in both instances, we're considerably higher than the state average. 8th grade, one we're higher, one we're lower. And 9th grade, we're both lower, 9th through 11th. So again, I'm not making determinations. I'm not condemning or making any public statement. It's just something to note and something that I will want to dig into a little bit deeper to find out why that trend is. Is it a trend? Is it a snapshot? It's just one piece of data. And I want you all to remember that this is just one time. Next. Last but not least, well, I think it's last. He thinks it's not least, is the deficit numbers. So when we look at special education funding is different than any other funding stream that we have access to in our state budget. So basically, it's different than your checkbook at home. If your checkbook at home had you consistently under, this is break even. If all of our numbers were in the hole at home, we would all be in trouble. In special education, it is a requirement that we have to spend the money that we get because we are not fully funded. IDEA has never been fully funded. So it's more of a question of what is your comfort level? We have a few districts in Iowa that have a positive balance. What happens is they end up giving that money back. So we don't want to have a positive balance. We want to have a comfort level. Just for reference, this was, so the green was fiscal year 19, the orange was fiscal year 20, and the gray black is 2021. These are right at 600,000, 700,000, and this is a 1.2 million. So just for you to reference, that's what it was. Again, remember what happened this year? We had COVID, we had to pay all of our people, we didn't get the services. We couldn't recoup Medicaid, we couldn't recoup any of the things that we typically do. So we did have a lot of our schools in that year had a lower, had a larger deficit. So with that data just being a quick snapshot, I didn't want to bore you to death forever. Some things that I will be looking at, and I've had conversations with Julie, I've had conversations with Mitch, conversations with other administrators, and we will further those. But we do want to look at our multi-tiered systems of support. Are those making the growth that we want? Are they reaching the mark? I'm going to look at equity in teacher and student rosters and schedules to make sure that we don't have a teacher who is overloaded and a teacher who doesn't have maybe as many students as they could or should be having on their roster. Medicaid reimbursement is a huge area. We can get a lot of funding back, and I just want to make sure we're getting every bit that we can. The use of associates in professional learning, I feel strongly about this one. We have associates doing essential work, and sometimes we give them as much training or less training than they get at Quick Star or Casey's. We really need to value their positions, and we need to make sure that each of their positions are essential. That goes on with increasing student independence. We don't want to hire associates just to be a personal secretary for a student. We want them to be performing a job and increasing their independence, which overall leads to collective efficacy. Everyone has a role, and I don't want to be in a district that says, you go over there and work with this kid. It needs to be all of us, and all of us are working together for success for all students. So there will be, this is one afternoon, I think, but there will be many, many other tasks that I'm sure Julie will charge with me and you might ask me to look into. These are some things that I've looked at just being in the district 6 days, and I wanted you to know kind of where I was going with that. Okay. Any questions?
Thank you very much for
Productive 6 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been a little bit.
Welcome.
No.
welcome.
Yeah. And now you get to do Title I.
And all of that, I know, I have that list in front of me. Okay, oh yeah, I'm in charge of that too. So
Yes.
I'll get it. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
You.
All right, 22-23 school board meeting schedule.
So hopefully you've been able to take a look at there were just a couple of changes that we made since last month. Moved the March board meeting from the 13th, which would have been spring break, to the 20th was my suggestion. And then move the annual goal review meeting to May 15th. That would coordinate with my evaluation. Thought that might be a better fit than putting the annual goal review after the time that my evaluation would take place. So those were two changes that I made to the board meeting schedule since last month. Did you have other suggestions or ideas on what you'd like to have in our school board schedule?
Work sessions wise, I know obviously it's not normal board meetings, but did we schedule work sessions the last time and had on the calendar and we decided not to this time? Am I?
They're usually on.
Have it, but they're listed as,
Well, like this would be.
Yeah.
work
Didn't we have like one almost every month though for a while? Or am I just making that up?
well, you had one almost every week,
It's
Matt.
special meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. It seemed like there was more of them. Maybe I know there's obviously like the curriculum.
In a typical year, this is more what it looks like,
Right.
but you're correct in the time that you've been on the board that we have had numerous special meetings and work sessions that were not typically, simply because of our construction and some of the other things that have occurred. So,
There's usually
yeah.
monthly board meeting, and 4 times a year, we meet the 4th Monday of the month for work sessions. Unfortunately, with refinancing bonds, building new buildings, letting bids, kind of got out of control this past year, and hopefully it'll get back toward.
So we're hoping.
I just enjoyed some of the work sessions. That's the reason I asked too.
Yeah.
Not saying it.
So it doesn't say work session, but the ones that do not say regular
Yeah.
board meeting are technically work sessions. So that's.
And if we need
Yeah.
to, we've added them this year.
Mhm.
Get time, so.
I imagine there'll be others added.
So anything that's not regular board meeting is a work session, if that helps.
Everybody okay with the proposed schedule? Anybody willing to make a motion to approve?
Move to approve the board schedule for 22-23.
The motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any other questions? All those in favor, aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Motion carries. So number 5 is board policies, and there are 18 of them. Should we open up number 5 and talk about each one of these individual, or just go see if there's any questions or comments from board members, and then at the end approve number 5 as the lump sum, or?
That would be
Yeah.
fine. We have to do 2 readings anyway.
Okay.
So that would be fine with me
We
as
don't
long
need-
as
we
it's.
Great suggestion.
We don't need action on 18 items then. We can do it all as
No,
one.
we can do it all as one.
Okay.
And so let me just specify why you have 8 items. So one, when I first came on board, I did note that we were not having regularly scheduled updates. So we started that way with COVID. It kind of got off. And so the 800 series is just another series that needed to be reviewed anyway. There were also some suggestions from IASB that were pretty lengthy. So just made that the entire series review. And then the others were all changes due to different laws that were passed over the course of the school year or changes in policy from IASB that they had made recommendations on. So that's why you see so many of them. So there is a bit of catch up with this, but that's why you see so many. This is not typical either.
Oh, Julie, I wondered
Mhm.
if I was remembering right or wrong. Aren't they supposed to be reviewed by?
Every 5 years.
Years.
Okay.
Yes, they are.
Yep, I thought we'd gotten
Because
most.
some of those were way.
And we did the 100 series, 200 series, 300 series, like right away when I got
And then
here,
4.
Yeah,
400 series,
like.
and then kind of stopped.
Yeah.
Then, so we're going back. So yeah.
That's- It's a long
I
time
got
ago.
3 things.
Mhm.
804.02 and 804.03. Do we need to add active shooter drill in these someplace or have a separate policy on that? Because unfortunately, in our society today,
We have that policy.
Yeah, if it's,
it wasn't on those 2 and I didn't see it anyplace else. Maybe it's someplace.
We have it.
I believe it was.
It's in there. Not in the rescind though. The bomb threats were rescinded because it's all part of our crisis plan. So our crisis plan that was adopted, if you recall, in 2019, that was something that was adopted, and that's where the active shooter
That is, right?
is. So that's why you don't see it in
Not a standard.
that. It's meant to be able to be more fluid than just
Okay, so it's not in the policy, it's more in.
correct.
And it says that it,
Mhm.
it's in this, the
Okay.
crisis plan.
Yes.
That's,
Yes.
yeah.
Mhm.
And do we have drills?
So I shared earlier this meeting that we met with our chief of police because that's something that we had trained with our staff and we want to go back to. They had some drills prior to, once COVID hit, then obviously there weren't. So every level needs to do that a little differently based on the age level of the child. So that's
And-
something that we are working through to be able to communicate with our community prior to re-entering into that, because we want to make sure we're
I
transparent.
mean, my thinking always was, that's very frightening for little kids.
Mhm.
And having them climb out a window and having the 2-story buildings,
Mhm.
the 1-story building would be more sensible.
But I think it's more training kids to understand that, if you're prepared for emergencies, then your teachers can keep you safe. And if you're ready to listen to your teachers, and your teachers can keep you safe.
Yeah.
I do think we live in a world where we can't pretend like it doesn't happen now, because I think. the
Oh,
more-
no.
I think the more kids are prepared for things that happen,
Mhm.
and then teachers feel better because the kids are prepared and they've talked about it. I mean, we do the same thing, when we do fire drills, the kids get.
Yep.
scared, because we talk
Listen and-
about, there are things that might happen, in the last, 100 years, no one has died in a fire, but we still practice it because no one has died in a fire.
Yeah.
Keep People safe. And
Yeah. But at one time, we talked about getting kids out windows and getting, doing that.
Again, I think you'll see it practiced differently by age level.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's something, again, we have a professional development schedule throughout this year in coordination with our law enforcement that will be working with our directors and principals, the crisis plan, revisiting it again because it's time to revisit, even though it was fairly recently adopted. We need to revisit it again, make sure that we're doing what we need to. And there's some more funding available for increased security. So it's another opportune time to revisit it. So yeah, that's something that is definitely in the process.
What do you know about that? I mean, are we online to get some of those funds?
So every school district's online with that. The problem is they have very specific vendors you have to go through. So you have to be signed up with them before you can actually get reimbursed for the money. The money that they have allotted is 50,000 per.
50,000 per bill.
But again, they have been very specific about the vendors you have to use to do the safety audits. And so we have to get that in line before we can proceed further. So
What's the timeline on that money then? Can we hold it and put 100,000 into the new school or?
that, I don't think that's not going to be a problem with regard to how long the money's there. I don't
I don't
think.
know. I don't know.
I'd have to look at the date.
I'd imagine
on
it
that.
might be that.
There's
far
no
out to
way-
utilize that.
I will tell you, there's no way every school district in the state of Iowa will be able to have those audits done in a year's time.
Okay.
Oh,
Number of vendors that they have.
So there's only like 4 or 5 vendors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every school building,
There's
300
over 300
districts and
over 300 school districts. So,
every building.
every building.
There's 1,000 buildings at least.
Yeah.
so,
So there's probably
That was
over
pretty
1,000 by the
safe.
time you get your big school district. So
so to answer your question about the 800 series with regard to active shooter, we keep it in our
Okay.
crisis plan.
that's fine. The second question I have
Mhm.
is in 804.07.R1, or actually 07R1. And go down here, this is a typo problem. It says the following notice will also be placed on all school buses equipped with recording devices. This building/bus is equipped with a recording/audio monitoring.
Hmm.
Why do we say this building? Go up a little bit, right above review of recording devices, right there, that sentence there.
Building/bus, is it referring to both the buildings and the buses?
No, but it says this notice will be placed on all school buses.
Oh, I don't know why it says building/bus.
I read it about 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, we could just take that out. I don't know why. Why?
You know, 7.
Unless it means all buildings plus all buses.
Well, that's why I'm saying like what, I'd have to look at the top of that again to see if that was why IASB had. I think what they're referring to is the following notes. Well, it says all school buses, but we also should be stating in the buildings that we have recording and audio monitoring systems as well. So I think that's probably where it came from. And it was placed underneath a line that only referred to buses inadvertently in the IASB recommendation is my guess. However, because I believe this came straight from IASB, did it not, Mitch? Mhm. So we can change that to reflect.
I'm
that.
just curious. It
Yeah.
wasn't too clear.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what the reasoning behind why that landed there, but they failed to take out.
Instead of putting also, it should say something like this notice will be placed on in all buildings and on all buses.
Right. Mhm. Yeah,
Would take care of that.
so we need to, can you mark that for a second reading to make sure that that's in the second reading?
Do it right now.
Thank you.
Buildings. Following notice will be in place in all buildings and on all school buses equipped with recording devices. And just made.
Thank you.
You have one more, Doc?
No, that was it.
Okay.
That was it. Anything else on the board? I know there's probably some edits and stuff that you had. Or was it just on the book and books?
Nope, no edits.
Anything? Add? It's good.
I got nothing.
So we're looking for a motion to approve the first reading with a few modifications that we discussed.
So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second,
And moved in second. All those, any further questions? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So now we're on to number 6 and policies that need to be rescinded.
Yeah, these are recommended to be rescinded by Iowa Association of School Boards for a variety of reasons. Some because of changes in laws, some because they aren't required to be in board policy at all. Bomb threats, for example, most people have that as part of the crisis plan, so they recommend taking out of the policy because it should be covered in the crisis plan as along with the school safety policy.
Then why did we just approve it above?
I did what?
We just approved the bomb threat 1804.03.
It was probably highlighted and deleted up there.
Yeah,
If we were removing it, I made sure it was put down there as well. So we knew we
Right.
were taking that out.
Okay.
So.
Yep.
Just want to make sure it was clear for everybody.
Mhm.
Any other questions?
Okay, I move to approve the rescinding of the 8 aforementioned policies. Item 6.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second,
A motion and a second. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 7, 22-23 student fees.
So we are not recommending any changes to the fees except for the adult lunch fee, because that is required by law. And then the students, which one's, where's the student one?
It's right up here.
Thank you. The only changes we've made as a recommendation are those that are required by law. We did not wish to change any of the other fees associated with our school fees. Met with Brett to check on athletic activity fees as well, and elected not to increase those also. So the only changes that we're recommending are those that are required by law
And the food and the
for the
lunch.
food. And as of right now, we are not receiving, to my knowledge, we are not receiving free breakfast and lunch. So we will be back to parents paying for school breakfast and lunch.
You said not changing anything due to law wise. Is there like a minimum?
They have a minimum requirement that you have to have. Some can have, you can put it higher than what they require, but we always go with what their minimum recommendation is.
Coming off a free year for that. That's
I
my
know.
surprise
that'd
to
be
see that.
hard, I think.
So.
Applications for free. would be-
We had also applied for extra funds to help with some of the supply chain issues and did receive that. So that we could go with the minimum requirement.
Any other questions?
I'd move to approve the 2022-23 student fees.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second,
A motion and a second. Further questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Number 8, imagine the possibilities MOA.
So this is a memorandum of understanding that we have had for a number of years. And so this is just again, another annual renewal that we're recommending for approval. There were no major changes to the agreement.
I think the increased cost like $900.
Yeah, which is minimal.
I'll move to approve the Imagine the Possibilities MOA as presented.
Second,
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? Hearing none. All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Number 9, ICN fiber optic line bids.
And Levi's here to present on that.
So we sent out a request for bids to about a half dozen vendors. We only received 2 bids back, unfortunately. There's a pretty large gap between the 2, so I wanted to make sure to bring that to your attention and discuss why. One is from Communication Innovators. The bid is for 789 and 770. Communication Innovators is a company that we have used in the past to run fiber optic lines between buildings in town, so we have experience using them. They are sort of like a general contractor in the sense that they're subbing this work out to people who actually do the fiber optic burying to sort of manage the project. The other bid that we got is from a startup company named Fiber Optic Specialists. The person who started the company has experience doing this for MetroNet and Google Fiber, but this company has not actually yet done any projects with this scope. They've done small runs like as a contract work for other vendors who have contracted out to them, but they've not been essentially the sole contractor in charge of the project with this before. That said, I did speak to the person today who owns the company, Norman. Gave me several references. I called MetroNet contact that he gave me, which was one of his references. They gave a very positive review, said that he was a very competent employee, knew what he was doing. He was a outside plant project manager, so this sort of thing would have definitely been in the scope of what he was doing for MetroNet. He's bonded and insured, he's licensed, so as far as that all goes, things up. There's obviously some risk in using a brand new vendor. But on the other hand, if we were to establish a relationship with him, see that he does work. The work, like when we get to the new element. Is that I think he's trying to win new businesses in the company. But also, the company is, like I said, sort of a general contractor, so there's some extra markup and overhead involved there, of course. He did also mention he's done work for other schools before, Wisconsin schools, Iowa State, 5 miles of fiber optic cord between the dorms. Said that he has worked with vendors before where they have donated materials towards their projects when it's for a school. He expects that his total will actually be less than what has been here because he will actually have to pay for all the materials and will have them donated from some suppliers. So it's still significantly less. So I don't think that's a huge deciding factor, but just something to mention.
And the quality of the fiber and everything is equivalent.
It's the same product. I did go back to Communication Innovators and have them line item what they were bidding exactly. We already provided line item. It's the same quantities, it's the same product. So they're equivalent materials.
So it's really just in the labor front for the most part then, with that kind of a middleman type scenario?
Right. There's the middleman and the labor is where the difference comes in.
Go back to that other one, Mitch. Whenever you see a proposal like this, I get a little nervous. So where it says your logo here,
Agreed.
handwritten, business name,
Yeah.
intercompany street address and cell.
It's
It's an Excel sheet that he found and that he typed a proposal on.
very bootstrapped. So on the one hand, we've got a bid that's
$50,000.
going to get done for sure, and with a company we know and trust. On the other hand, we have a bid that's very competitive, but bring the company.
Levi, in your, when you put together this proposal and set it out, what was your guesstimate? Where do you think we're going to come in at?
I thought we were going to be in the 40 to 50,000 range, and I had several vendors tell me that. Unfortunately, they did not bid, and the ones that told me that, Communication Innovators also told me that range as a rough ballpark, but that was over a year ago before they actually put in the official bid. So prices have gone up, I assume, as part of it.
But I think in this case, if he's licensed, bonded, insured, it's apples to apples, we're kind of required to accept it, right? There's nothing,
I think we're,
and you've done, it sounds like you've done your due diligence on as much research as you can.
As much as I feel like I could. I don't feel super nervous about this. I'll say we're a little bit maybe going out on a limb, but I feel like the futures, this is just the run to the futures HSAP building, which I also feel like is a little bit lower risk.
How new is this company?
shorter project.
Very new.
I don't think, you know, if you read the state laws, I don't think we've got enough criteria to be able to decline this one. I agree with Jeremy. Anytime I look at a bid sheet like this, I get a little bit nervous, but Levi's done his due diligence. He's getting some good feedback on him. The other one was more than we thought by far. This was a little bit less than we thought. I guess I am going to propose that we accept the fiber optic specialist bid. Motion.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Maybe tell Norman that a little more professionalism would ease the school board's mind a little bit.
It'll help them in getting future bids.
Mhm.
Oh, 40, I did the math. 42,000 plus dollars.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Any other questions or comments? We have a motion and a second, so all those in favor, aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Levi. All right, number 10, change orders over 25,000.
So this is a change order from Construct. You can see in the change order that it's referencing the storm sewer revisions for the sub drainage on the east playground, revisions to the pipe size into and out of the curb inlet structure, and revisions of the outlet storm sewer pipe size and manhole locations, along with adding riprap at the outlet that we've been working on for quite some time. So that is the change order from Construct that we are putting forward for approval.
If you guys do, not to jump in, look on the change order tracking, there are quite a few. There are some credits coming in here from DLR and Lang that we have to put in here. I'll get them in here, but they less than that, so it doesn't look so high. So,
Any questions?
Where are we at with storm drains stuff going forward now? Because I feel like every.
The tile drainage is still not completed. Yeah, it's still not completed.
I went to the meeting on Thursday and the actual tile was off of the property. But there was some cleanup and some grading, and I think they failed the compaction test in one spot, so they were gonna have to re-excavate.
That's at the outlet.
And recompact that. And they said at that time, if there was no rain, it was like 2 days worth of work. And it's been Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It's been 5, so it'll probably be done next Tuesday. Probably be a few more days, I bet.
Move to approve the presented change orders.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
second,
Further questions? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Building project update.
So we talked a little bit about the elementary school update. The tile is still not complete, but hopefully soon. We are vertical finally in some of the construction, which is exciting to see. You can see that more material has been brought on to the site, so making some progress. Our HSAP futures building, we know that there is likely to be a delay on the building still yet. Still don't know at what point. So if you recall, initially we thought October, then it became December. Right now, we're waiting to hear a final date for how much it may still be delayed. When we know, I can share that with you. And then our gym remodel, our windows are completed, but hopefully tomorrow I'll hear more about when the gym floor will be continuing to move forward. Like to see a little bit more progress on that, but HVAC, they had to rerun some of the HVAC differently than they planned, but they're on schedule, they're doing the best they can. We will not be fully functional HVAC wise when school starts. We will have temporary air conditioning in the areas that won't have it. We're thinking maybe a week or two
just
into
for
the school year, but
music and in the gym area, the 86 portion.
so that is unfortunate, but it's a week or two as of right now with regard to, but the gym itself should still be completed on time. Just the HVAC will be a week or two later than that as of right now. So that's kind of where we are with the projects currently. Yeah. And Mitch is continuing to put in the credits and the change orders so that you can see as we go along with the projects, kind of where we sit with the variety of amounts and be able to look at our contracted amount and how much we actually end up having to spend so that you can keep track of that as we go along. And I also spoke with Levi this evening about in the near future, putting the time lapse from a camera that we have out there onto our website so that our community members can start to see some of that build without having to go there directly themselves. Because again, it's a work site. We don't want people going onto the work site. So we'll put that on our website so that people can see the progress.
What about the gym roof? Is it all dried in and weatherproof?
Okay, so I've not been here this last week, so I will find out tomorrow in our meeting, our update. But I believe so, but I will find out for sure.
I know they're working on the trim and the gutters,
Okay.
so should be
Mhm.
close.
Like they still had a ways to go on the floor and poke my head in there to
Oh, yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
be tight.
I'll find out tomorrow exactly where we stand. So we have our meetings on Tuesdays. So,
All right. Anything for superintendent's report?
yes, so at the next meeting, we will have in August, the legislative priorities that we'll need to adopt. So in your assembly documents, you have the priorities platform listed, but if you go directly to page 11, that's where they start with the numbers, and we're picking 4. So in the August meeting, and we have to decide in August because we have to turn them in like 3 days after our meeting as to what we want our priorities, legislative priorities to be. So I'd ask that you start at page 11 and pick your top 4, and we will discuss. Yeah, we'll discuss that at the next board meeting. There are lots of opportunities for priorities, so it's going to be a challenging task, but I think we can come to, agreement in that one meeting. So
Page 11 or
page 11, yeah, just skip down to page 11, because then.
page 11 is the middle of a statement. So I think it's page 13.
No, it's 11.
Look at the page numbers, not the
Oh,
Yeah,
PDF
page
number.
number.
okay.
Yeah, page number.
Yeah, I was looking at the wrong
Number
thing.
Mhm.
Search-based initiatives.
Yep.
Mhm.
I was looking in the top left corner.
Yep. Yeah,
Computer. Sorry.
so I just wanted to point that out, that will take a bit of time as well.
Anything else?
Not at the moment, no.
I think
Oh, maybe just one other thing. I know we put out a press release about it, but just congratulations to the staff that Dr. Janes and the high school and the middle school for attaining the $410,000 apprenticeship grant. We're really excited about that. The opportunities that will be afforded to our students. And again, in that grant opportunity, we did put in opportunities for our middle school students, trying to expand our work-based learning so that when they get to the high school, they have those opportunities for the apprenticeship. So both for our EMT and CNA healthcare opportunities. So very excited about that. We were the largest awardee for a district. The only other award that was larger was given to an AEA that had 10 school districts involved. So very, very proud of the work that our staff did on that, and very excited for our students and our community, because our community will benefit as well, because we're able to have our students participating in these activities and becoming healthcare workers and hopefully staying in our area as well.
Julie, I read an article about it,
Yeah.
it was nice. It was in the,
and we're sharing with Ames.
Oh, we should know. We have our Ogden Ames through the fact that Ames is with regard to the hospital and Boone Hospital.
Didn't even.
Ames EDC did the,
But
no. So we have the sharing agreement with our work-based learning
Yeah.
here with Ogden. So that was in our grant, and coordination with the hospitals in Ames,
Yeah.
Boone. Because, I mean, Boone can take on so many, but we needed, to have placements for all of our students. So in that capacity, yes.
Yeah.
But not Ames School District. That's not
Okay, Ames Hospital.
the grant.
Mary Greeley Medical Center is what they have.
Yeah, it's really referring to Mary Greeley, not to the school district.
Okay.
But we do coordinate with Ogden with our work-based learning coordinator, and we included that because we anticipate being able to collaborate on that. So Mitch put on the screen those that were awarded grants in the state. And so lots to celebrate for our school and community.
Do you think any of that has to do with the EDGE program and work-based learning being recognized and respected statewide?
Absolutely. Workforce Development, who kind of headed this up, is very familiar with Boone and the work that we've done. So that certainly does not hurt. That it's just a continuation of the good work that's happened in the past. So hopefully we'll have even more opportunities. But we need to make sure we do it in a way that is done so with quality. So I know some individuals had mentioned to me, they saw the teacher apprenticeship grant and why hadn't we applied? And part of the reason we didn't is because we had applied for this. And we knew that that work was still happening, and we feel that we can move forward with collaborating with potential teacher apprenticeships without being formally an apprenticeship at this time. We only have so many people and so many resources at once. So that may be something we'll tackle in the near future, but we want to make sure that we do it with quality. And again, to your point, Jeremy, we are known for doing that. And so our reputation precedes us. And so it's exciting to have that happening. So if someone hadn't seen the article, I wanted to make sure people knew that that's a big celebration for our students and for our community members. So.
All right, anything else?
Julie, real quickly, how many nominations do we have for names for the new early elementary center and for the Boone Futures / homeschool buildings? And when is the deadline for people to get those suggestions?
Okay, the elementary is done. That was, Friday. So let me just go to, Futures was today. So let me go into my documents and see if I can give you an exact number of how many submittals we had. You got it?
Couple.
104 for the elementary.
Are there any like
They're good ones.
over
Yeah,
overlapping or?
some.
There's some overlapping, but nothing like, I feel like everybody wants this.
There
one.
wasn't like 40 of one.
Not that I've
No.
noticed yet.
Not a big vote for one or the other.
Oh, no.
Any of them say
And I think they're
Toreadors?
both for Pritchard Elementary.
I can tell you a good story about that.
And there's 14 for the HF Futures currently. So
Okay.
That one's hard.
it is.
Mhm.
So that's how many. And so our committees will be meeting soon to determine. So obviously we aren't going to narrow from 104 down to 1. So it's likely that we will be resending out some finalists, like nominations for potential names before it comes to you as the board for a final approval in August. And then the multi-purpose building, we may be able to come to one. We'll see when we meet as a committee, but we just appreciate all the suggestions. So thank you for that question. Yeah, I forgot that we closed that when I was on vacation. So.
Well, I think that concludes this portion of the board meeting. We'll take a short break and then are we going to move for closed session?
We'll move in there.